I'm Elaine Viets. Manatees are amazing creatures. If you've never seen one, an adult manatee is a huge gray animal about 10 feet long. They can weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Despite their enormous size, manatees are struggling to stay alive. Florida's Save the Manatee Club is trying to help the manatees. Today on the Dead End Jobs Show, we're talking to the club's distinguished Director of Science and Conservation, Dr. Katie Tripp. Today we're talking to Dr. Katie Tripp, Director of Science and Conservation for the Save the Manatee Club on the Dead End Jobs Show. Dr. Tripp, manatees are 1,000-pound monsters. Are they dangerous?
They're not at all dangerous, and I don't think monsters accurately characterizes them. They're 1,000-pound gentle giants. They're not at all dangerous. They pose no threat to humans, although we pose quite a threat to them. The most dangerous situation you can find yourself in is if you're around a group of manatees who don't know you're there, because if you can imagine weighing 1,000 pounds and having a neck that doesn't turn, manatees have a lot of weight to throw around, quite literally, and you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of their tail. But other than that, they're about as harmless as they come.
What's your favorite manatee fact?
My favorite manatee fact. I think it's really cool. They have what's called marching molars. So manatees are vegetarians, and if you take an X-ray of their mouth, you'll see that the only kind of teeth they have are molars. And manatees eat all of the aquatic vegetation that grows on the bottom, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of silt and sand that comes up with that, and it would wear their teeth down over time. And so, just like us humans might go get some dentures so that we can keep processing our food if our original teeth fail us, manatees have this cool conveyor belt system where as their teeth wear down, they fall out and a new molar pops up and everything slides forward. So it's kind of this really cool system they've evolved to prolong their lifespan by making sure that they're able to properly, chew their food to help with digestion. So I think that's a pretty cool feature.
Manatees, if they're lucky, can live a fairly long time. Is that correct?
It's correct. They can live more than 60 years. The sad fact is that, at least in Florida, a lot of them don't get to live that long because of watercraft strikes and other threats. But they are a very long-lived mammal, that's for sure.
Why are manatees important to Florida?
Manatees are very iconic to Florida. I mean, there are a lot of people who come to Florida specifically to see them, and there's no place else in the country where you can do that with any sort of certainty. I always tell people that they're among the most popular postcards in the postcard rack at the tourist shop. They're just a really unique animal. I mean, they're prehistoric in their origins, and certainly some people would say they still look like they're stuck a few million years back, but they're just this. I don't know. They just, to me, they just represent everything of the the earlier days of Florida, the quieter times, the natural Florida, the real Florida. They've been here for so long. They've persisted through so much. They're like our little warriors who survive battle on a daily basis. Just their world has changed so much, and yet they're still here, and they're just so peaceful. Anyone who's suffering from some anxiety issues or stress need only come visit one of our springs during the winter and just watch the manatees frolic, and very good for your blood pressure.
That was the question I was going to ask. If you live in Florida or you're coming to Florida, where are good places to see the manatees?
We always encourage people to kind of observe from a distance. My favorite place is Blue Spring State Park in Volusia County. They have a beautiful boardwalk system. It's elevated over the spring run, and you can just walk for, gosh, it must be half a mile or so all along the spring run and watch the manatees. And there's no human activity in the water, so you really just get to watch them uninterrupted all kinds of cool behaviors. You'll see, moms nursing their calves and juveniles playing and rolling around or sleeping belly up. I mean, you just really you really just feel like you're kind of spying on their private life, because they're just manatees being manatees, and of course the water's crystal clear, and the park is just a beautiful setting. So that's really my favorite place.
Where's Volusia County for people who aren't familiar?
Volusia County is just northeast of Orlando. So, our office is in the Orlando area, and Blue Springs less than an hour from here. So it's going to be kind of west of Daytona Beach, and a little northeast of Orlando.
My husband and I like to vacation in Key Largo at a Hampton Inn down there. And there's a family of manatees that looks to me like a father, a mother, and a calf. And they often visit the little cove in front of the hotel about 4 in the afternoon, especially if it's been raining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people get in the water and go swimming with them. Is that a good idea?
No. Manatees are wild animals, and because they don't have sharp teeth and sharp claws, I think a lot of people take that for granted. But they are wild animals, and it's very important that they maintain their wild behavior and a little bit of a healthy fear of humans, because of course it's their proximity to us and our fast boats and our shop propellers that puts them in danger. So, while some of the people who go swimming might have the best of intentions, we also know that there are YouTube videos out there of people, luring manatees to a dock with a hose and then, jumping on top of them. So the same way that we kind of tell our kids not to talk to strangers, we kind of wish that the manatees would kind of keep their distance from people, because not everyone has bad intentions, but unfortunately some folks do. So it's, because manatees live so close and they seem that they're within reach, it's very hard not to want to get in the water with them. But there's no other marine mammal or protected species where that's allowed. There's no like Pet the Bears program out in Yellowstone. And again, it's those sharp teeth and those claws. So it's just really in the better interest of the manatees. And if you want to observe their behavior, it's better to just hang back and just let them do their thing. They're attracted to that spot, probably you said after the rainstorms, so they're getting the runoff. They need to drink the fresh water, so they come in there. So they're not in there because they want to play with people. They're in there because they know they can get the fresh water they need to survive, and it's just important that people remember that. Same thing with, wanting to go to the springs and swim with the manatees. The manatees are there because they're trying to stay warm and live through the winter, and in a lot of cases, I think it's more of maybe them putting up with us than having any particular affinity for the interaction.
How many manatees are there in Florida?
It's a good question. The highest count that we ever had was back in the winter of 2010, and it was just over 5,000. Of course, we then proceeded to have the highest mortality on record until this year, 2013, which was even worse. So probably somewhere around 4,500 or so is a decent, ballpark estimate.
This year hasn't started out very well for the manatees either. We've had another cold snap. What do the manatees do to keep warm?
Manatees go to warm water sites. So the reason that the springs are such a great place to see them is that the manatees, flock there for survival. The springs have a constant year-round 72-degree temperature, which to us seems a little bit brisk, but when you're a manatee and the river temp is down in the 50s or the 60s, 72 sounds like a great place to be. Of course, in southern Florida, areas where we don't have as many natural springs anymore, the manatees rely on artificial sources of warm water like power plants. They're incredibly good at finding warm water, so little seeps and springs and things like that. But it's important, even though they look like they've got a healthy supply of insulation, they really don't. And so it's very important for them to find that warm water so they can survive. They're very sensitive to temperatures.
Now, this time of year, we're lucky in that we can, even if we can't come to Florida, we can watch the manatees in real time. Can you tell us about the manatee camera and how we can access it?
The Manatee webcam is actually at Blue Springs State Park. The website is manatee.org, and it's the coolest thing. Again, if you're having a rough day at work, just pull up that webcam, and it'll just bring your blood pressure right down. It's very cool. You can watch the manatees in real time. We've got underwater cameras and above water cameras. Our manatee specialist, who's out there on almost a daily basis, keeping tabs on who's there, his updates on who he's seen and what's happening go up there. So even if you can't come to Florida, yeah, we bring the manatees to you. It's a really cool thing, and so many people have viewed it. I'll have friends and neighbors. Oh, I watched the manatees today, and school kids love it. You've got kids up in the snowy north, and being able to bring the manatees into their classroom. It's just such a cool tool, and we're really, really proud of it.
Do manatees have personalities?
Absolutely, they really do. Everything from, the manatees that like to live in the city to the manatees that like to live in the country, the manatees that are very social to the manatees that like to keep to themselves. Some manatees are much more mischievous than other manatees. They do have different personalities.
Now, as far as saving the manatees, at one point the Native Americans and the first Europeans used to eat them. And when did manatee go off the menu?
Well, in some places it hasn't. Of course, in Florida it's illegal. There are folks in other countries that still, do take the opportunity if they happen to catch a manatee to consume it. But in Florida, I think the first laws to protect manatees came in about 1893, where you couldn't go after a manatee without a permit. So that was kind of the first instrument. And then I think somewhere in the early 1900s it became a little more taboo. And then of course with the Marine Mammal Protection Act and the Endangered Species Act in the 1970s. People apparently they have a kind of a lot of different cuts of meat. You'll hear like there's this part of it tastes like chicken and this. So we don't like to think of them like that, but they're much more valuable alive than on someone's dinner plate, and so that's one of the things we try to work on in other countries is making people see the value of maybe bringing tourists to see the manatees alive versus trying to serve them up for dinner or something like that.
So we humans are the manatees' most we're their biggest threat, right?
Yeah, really their only threat, honestly. Yeah.
I live in Fort Lauderdale near a manatee zone where the boats are supposedly uh, they're supposed to reduce their speed in order to protect the manatee. Many of those boats ignore that rule. If you're a responsible boater, what should you be doing to save the manatee?
Well, certainly, if you are boating, it is important to observe those speed zones. If you happen to be one of those responsible boaters who sees someone else not observing the speed zone, always call Florida Fish and Wildlife. They've got a 24-hour hotline number, which is 1-888-404-3922, and just gather as much information about the vessel as you can. What it looks like, how many operators, male or female. If you can actually see the registration numbers, that's what's most important. If you can snap a photo of it, and just, the officers, we just, just like with our on the ground police officers, we just never have enough. And so as far as on water enforcement, our officers can't be everywhere, but they benefit from getting those calls. If they go back and look at their log and they see a pattern or they see the same, vessel being reported, they've got their tricks for trying to, find those folks so that they can explain to them that they're breaking the law. So it's very important to report violations. Important to obey those posted speed zones. If you're out fishing, make sure that all your line goes back with you. You don't leave any of it behind. It's a threat not just to manatees, but to other animals in the environment. Certainly wearing polarized sunglasses to help you really see into the water. Manatees aren't like the dolphins that have that great dorsal fin that pops right up to say, "Hey, I'm here." It's a little more tricky to see a manatee. You have to be looking for them. So the polarized sunglasses will help with that. Definitely carry that Fish and Wildlife hotline number with you while you're out there. And we also have some other resources. We have a boating banner with a "Please slow manatees below" message, so that if you happen to be out boating and you're in an area that there are manatees, and maybe there's a boat coming at you on plane that doesn't seem to be on the lookout, you can wave this yellow banner at them, and you're pretty liable to get their attention. It's kind of attention grabbing. It can be more effective than waving other appendages at people. So we're always trying to find ways to kind of help the boaters be great stewards of the manatees, because they're the ones that are out there, and we need to have the boaters in our court if we're going to protect the manatees.
Now, I love this. There really is an app for everything.
Yes.
Tell us about the app for manatees.
Oh, we love it. It's called Manatee Alert, and we worked with a company out of Boca Raton, I think they are, so kind of down your neck of the woods in Fort Lauderdale, called Conserve.io, and they were the brains behind the details. We just kind of helped with some of the the conservation messaging and things like that. But right now it's only for iPhone, but it's a free app that you can download, and it will tell you where all the speed zones are. So if you're out boating, it lets you know if you're entering a manatee speed zone. This is the first release, and so we're still happily taking people's feedback as they're using it. My goal for 2014 is to raise the funding to offer it on the Android platform as well, and make some other improvements. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Anyone who says that they find the speed zones confusing can just sort of download the app, and it'll tell you if you're in one or leaving one or coming up on one. So again, any sort of tool to just help people do the right thing.
Now, we're starting to see, unfortunately, manatee abuse. People who think it's funny to ride a manatee, and their exploits have been captured on cell phone. What happens to people who decide to ride a manatee?
It really depends on the specific instance. It is illegal, it is an offense, and so it sort of depends on the strength of the evidence. Like you mentioned, some people are going and either posting their own exploits on YouTube, or maybe someone out at the beach captures someone else misbehaving with their cell phone. So it's really kind of up to the officers whether they feel that it's prosecutable, and it may have to do with whether or not the person is from here, knows any better, should know any better, if they have any other sort of wildlife offenses. But it's serious, and I think that there was a case a couple years ago, and some people were very happy for the attention it got. Other people thought, oh, there's more serious things going on. But we were really grateful that the local sheriff's office took that case seriously, and anyone who mistreats a manatee might be just as likely to either mistreat another animal, mistreat another human. So certainly it's not acceptable in any case, and yeah, it's really important to try to get that message out. That, again, if manatees had sharp teeth and claws, people probably wouldn't be jumping all over them and riding them. And because they don't, it becomes more of a a moral, ethical argument of why it's not okay to do that, why it's not right to do that.
Farming can sometimes be a threat to manatees. How does that happen?
Well, really, all of our land use issues can be a threat to manatees. Of course, we've got a lot of agriculture. We also have a lot of just residential, development, and so all of the fertilizers that we put on our crops, on our grass, our different plants, all of that, if it's over fertilized and if we don't have proper control on our runoff, it can end up in our coastal waterways. So in 2013, we saw the repercussions of some of that on our coasts, with different nutrient runoff issues triggering algal blooms and other ecosystem problems. So, of course, this is where the manatees live. So where our storm drain empties is, into their home. So anytime we're putting, chemicals, fertilizers, it affects the balance of the ecosystem. And of course, if we get an algae bloom that blocks out the sunlight, then the seagrasses die. Well, manatees need the seagrasses to survive, as do so many other aquatic species. So, the things that we do here on land really do affect what happens in the water, even if we don't live right on the waterway ourselves. You look out your street, I'm sure you've got conduits along the street to drain the rainwater, the storm water, the runoff. Well, then those drain into other pipes, which make their way through different conveyances and out to the coast. So really, everyone in Florida has a role to play in controlling what we're putting on the land that's eventually going to end up in our water.
Now, tell us about your Adopt a Manatee program.
The Adopt a Manatee program is how we started. A lot of different organizations have, adopt this animal or adopt that animal. The Adopt a Manatee program is a little more unique in that you can adopt an actual manatee. So it's not just a symbolic token manatee. It's a real manatee that lives in Florida, has a history. Many of our adoptees are at Blue Spring State Park, so a lot of times people come and make an effort to see their manatee in the spring. A few of them are in captivity over at Homosassa Springs, and so we've got some different manatees all around the state. And people, either they find one that's the name of their dog, or it's they're a fighting Irishman, so they like Patty Doyle or something like that. But they all have kind of unique personalities. When I was a kid, I adopted Phyllis because she had twins, which is really unusual, and I just, as an 11-year-old, thought that was really interesting. So Phyllis became my manatee. And it's kind of how we engage people. People kind of, they either adopt a manatee for themselves or they receive one as a gift, and they sort of fall in love with that particular manatee, and then of course they'll receive our newsletters, all our information to find out what's going on in the state, and it kind of gets them involved in advocating not only to protect their manatee but all the manatees.
What's it cost to adopt a manatee?
Our basic adoption's $25. If you want the excellent gift that comes with it, I think that's $35. And it sort of goes up from there. You can become a guardian, a steward, etc. Do recurring gifts. But and of course, it's even less expensive for school classes. I think it's maybe $20 for a school class. So that's always really, really great to incorporate that into the kids' curriculum. And
well, that's cool. The whole class can adopt a manatee.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's so great. We've had classes that they do little fundraisers and things, and sometimes they'll adopt 20 manatees. It's so exciting, and they send us photos, and it's really neat just to see kids be excited and get involved, and yeah.
Let's say I'm broke. How else can I help save a manatee?
That's a great question. There's so much you can do. Probably the first thing is just, get on our website. We have lots of free resources. We have something called our Action Alert Team, where we will send you issues if there's, something coming up in your area, a meeting to attend, a letter to write. You can do that. That only costs a little bit of your time. You volunteering for us. We always need people who can, go out to festivals or go to school classes and teach about manatees. So that's a wonderful way to help. We have an online newsletter called Paddle Tales where you can kind of get some different information. So there's a lot you can do. And then of course, even just beyond that, kind of how you are living your life. Are you being careful with how much water you're using? Are you turning it off when you brush your teeth and, not wasting it out in your yard? Are you being careful when you're out fishing and boating? Anything that you're doing that's either on the water or leads to the water really can affect these guys. And, of course, manatees are on my mind 24/7 because this is my life. But I guess for some people, they don't spend all their time thinking about manatees. So, if you are going to be out on the water, just kind of remembering to think about the manatees and know that they're there, and, keeping an eye out for them really goes a long way.
Give us again the address of the Save the Manatee Club.
So the club's website is www.savethemanatee.org, and if you want to check out our webcams, that is www.manatv.org.
Well, you've got all, I've been to the website. There's all sorts of cool photos and videos of manatees at play, and things you can buy manatee related. So it's a great deal of fun. Thank you again, Dr. Katie Tripp, Director of Science and Conservation for the Save the Manatee Club. I'm Elaine Viets, and you're listening to the Dead End Job Show.